a patient is coming walking. He is coming walking and he says, I am okay. And his breathlessness is not that much. He is still talking, but he dies in the next 24 hours. And if the diagnosis of a walking dead is missed, you can imagine people will ransack the hospital. They will shout, they will kill the doctor, they will kill everything. And the diagnosis missed is called walking dead. Walking dead means you are walking, you are looking all right, but your SpO2 is 50 or 60. So corona is showing two types of patients. One type of a patient is where your SpO2 level matches with your clinical condition. And that is one type of respiratory symptoms. And the second type of a respiratory symptom is you are looking all right, and the doctors find you are 50, 60, and they immediately put you on ventilator, and patient says, how can it be possible? So we all are, this is a new term, which we used to see this term into hypotension with LVF. When patient used to have hypotension with LVF, we used to say these people are not going to die, but their brain will be alive till the these are the people. So these are called as walking dead. So Gana, how are you? And Ravi, and so we are discussing 0 hour till other people come. So we are sharing some important feedbacks where we can have tidbits, or we are talking about game changers. Game changers. So one is walking dead. That means SpO2 low, patient clinically looking all right. Second thing, I saw a patient, I gave a teleconsultation to one of our friend in Spain, and she had typical symptoms of COVID 1 month back, but her complaint was, I have recovered, my taste hasn't gone. My taste abnormality even today are present. She's still not been able to taste completely. So this is a new finding, because people have been asking how long the symptoms will last. And we have now a case where the symptoms of taste may last for over a month. She is 6 weeks, may last over a month with that. So Russell has joined, and our friend from JMA has joined. So we will start the meeting after exactly 3 minutes. Till 3 minutes, we are sharing something, anything. And we are live on, all our programs are live on YouTube. And Ritu, make sure that you send all the links to everybody in the group. So anybody wants to share anything? See, Russell, there is another term. There is another term which I wrote about it. People are talking about physical PPE. So the new term is emotional PPE.
Yes, yes. You've been writing about that. Yes, the protective.
We've been talking about it. I'm only talking about the term.
Yeah, but you I think alluded to the emotional and psychological.
I know. I'm talking about the word PPE, linking it to emotional PPE.
Yes, yes.
Whatever we are discussing are coming. I'm only talking about the terms.
Very
about broader good, which becomes a good. Another term which all of you can use in your press releases is that we fight the pandemic on the roads and not in the hospitals. And that's test, test, and test. You can't wait for a person to come to the hospital and diagnosis. So we fight the pandemic on the roads and not on the hospital, not in the hospital. I'm only saying some terms which can become your press releases in your own country. And these are the terms which every day when I read, I find something interesting. And you can, hi Chair, how are you? I said, Chair, how are you? So your name, so everybody says Chair. So Chair means Dr. Chong.
Hello, morning everyone. How are we today?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good.
So we have now 9:34. I'll request Dr. Chong to formally declare the meeting open, and we start then discussing. Dr. Chong, kindly chair the meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Agawa. Always a pleasure to see everybody here. And I hope all of you are well and staying safe and keeping safe. And just want to, as usual, update everybody on what's happening in our various countries. So I'll turn over to you, Dr. Agawa. Do you want me to start or somebody else to start?
Request start from Dr. Chen, Hong Kong.
Okay, great. Thanks. Alvin, are you here?
He's always late.
No, he's there. He's
Yes.
there. He's there. If he's taking time, then Arasu, you can start from Malaysia.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'll just give an update of the latest status of COVID in Malaysia.
Yes.
Yesterday, we had 88 cases, and then total active is 1932. And then case they've been treated and discharged is 3663. That stands at 64% actually. At the moment, the total case reported is 5691. And then other steps taken by the Ministry of Health or the Malaysian government is that we have the third phase of the movement control order. That is one. And then they've also launched an app called My Sejahtera, that means my well-being, whereby we can put in our details, and then there's a symptom checker. We can also check and see the area where we are based on the geolocation, whether it's a red zone, yellow zone, or the green zone. That's one thing. And the government is also rolling out return to work policy for workers. And then they are also planning to roll out RT-PCR for the first 100,000 workers in the next couple of days, and then followed by using an antibody test kit to be done as a surveillance for those who are also returning to work, and anticipating to cover at least the first one. RT-PCR might cover a few hundred, maybe close to 100,000 anticipated, and then the subsequent antibody it should cover another few 100,000. So this is what the Malaysian government is doing, and slowly they're also going to roll out the exit strategy for MCO. They're also very concerned about the foreign workers, and also we have a sizable undocumented migrants in the country. That is also an area, a community that we are very concerned that we might have clusters in the future. So the government is taking everything very cautiously and then monitoring everything. Thank you.
So there are a couple of information which have come in the last 48 hours. One is a US Department of Science and Technology, which have come out that heat kills, but that study is with a rider, because if the virus is inside your body, then whether it is temperature outside is 34, 40 or 43, virus is not going to be killed inside the body. So virus will stay inside the body. And number two is, even if sunlight kills, the sunlight is not there in offices, sunlight is not there in your home. So therefore virus may get reduced, but will persist. So that's one thing which we talk about it. Second thing is that I was yesterday in a seminar created by WHO, where a representative from every country was there. And they also said that this is likely to continue for a couple of years. These precautions. Precautions means that personal lockdown will continue for at least 2 to 3 years more. When I say personal lockdown means that I need to take my precautions at my office and at my home. And there was a person who was talking about the aviation, and he said, we are not likely to see international travel before June. And in June also, the first flights will start to lowest risk areas, and then they will monitor it further. And airlines are not going to become a complete normal by another 4 years. So they all are talking about that this virus is going to stay. If it goes, it will come back. It will reduce, second wave, third wave will come back. So therefore, we must be ready for a post lockdown situation. We must prepare, because he was talking about cycling will come back. He said cycling will come back because he said that you cannot afford to go into metros and other. So therefore, people for short distances, walking and cycling will come back. And that will be a new industry, walking and cycling. And the second thing, what he was talking about is lifts will have to be redesigned because most of the lifts are smaller and you have a distance of 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. Accordingly, you decide the number of people in the lift. If the building is very sky rising building, how will you manage? He says that all people must start planning about social distancing in their offices. That was what it was. So therefore, those people who are thinking that once your movement restrictive order is over or lockdown is over, everything will become normal. The answer is big no, at least for the next 2 to 4 years. And then people started talking about vaccine. So my comment on vaccine was don't depend on that. You see, even in India, even today, after 9 years of H1N1, we still don't have a H1N1 vaccine in our universal vaccination program. Government says we can't afford. So even if we come out with a vaccine, unless it is a nation-specific vaccine and you provide it free to the people, the person who is going to make vaccine is going to make trillions, and it is not going to be available free of cost to everybody. Therefore, it will be available only to people who are rich or who are high-risk workers. So therefore, our this feeling that vaccine is coming and let us stop doing precautions is not the correct information. Yes, Dr. Chong.
Dr. Agawa, I agree with a lot of what you said. Maybe I'll just update everyone on what's happening in Singapore. So as you know, we are having a migrant worker explosion of cases. So now it's 12,000 cases in total in Singapore. 12 deaths. We still have very low death rate. And one of the reasons why we have a low death rate is because most of these migrant workers are below the age of 30. Our local data shows that if you are below the age of 30, about only 0.5%, 0.5% need oxygen. The other 99.5% are perfectly very well. They're just lying in bed for a week, given Panadol, and we swab them, they're negative, they go home. So it's a very mild disease, fortunately, in our migrant population. Our local population is subjected to the lockdown. The lockdown is extended again, just like Malaysia, till June the 1st. And we have approximately now 8,000, about 9,000, nearly 10,000 migrant worker cases. So the local cases are about just 1,000 over, just 1,100 over. So the lockdown is starting to show some effect. We're having less and less community cases. Of course, the migrant workers are all in the dorms and they are walled off. We have moved them to temporary isolation centers. We have built up some huge isolation centers, some of them totaling about 15,000 beds. And we're moving them out of the dorms to isolate them. Inside the dorms is not really all wildfire. Actually, these dorms are tall buildings with about 10 floors, and there are rooms inside the dorms. So I was told that only about 10% of the rooms are infected. That means actually there are clusters within the dorm. It's not like the whole dorm is full of virus, and therefore we can go to herd immunity. We cannot go to herd immunity in the dorms. So that's our problem right now. And I see my own personal feel is that this is a second and third wave hitting Singapore. The second wave came from the returning people. About 60,000 of them came back to Singapore and brought the virus with them, particularly from the UK. The migrant population I see as a third wave, in line with what Dr. Agawa has just mentioned from the WHO meeting, that in future, this epidemic will be coming in waves. So in Singapore, unfortunately, we have a second and third wave together at the same time. And of course, we're having our hands full trying to handle it. Coming to antibody kits, it's good to know that our local guys tried the antibody kits that initially came from China. And despite their sensitivity and specificity of 90 to 99%, our local testing showed that it was only about 30%. So please, guys, no matter what they claim, you have to run your own local tests. All right, that's a lesson I learned from our local people here. So that's all I have to say at the moment. Thank you.
We welcome Dr. Rajan Sharma, who has also joined, and then Mary is also there from JMA. Dr. Mathanda Pillai, council member of WMA, has also joined. Before I talk to each one of them, a couple of things. One is that when I was attending one of the seminar, international seminar, and they talked about South Korea, and like this is what Dr. Chong also said on 10th of January when I spoke to him. And they said was they built up AII rooms in 5 days in South Korea. This is every hospital, they made the availability of AII rooms by 4 times. Now in India, we don't have a concept of AII room. Absolutely. Even in TB wards, there are no AII rooms. Therefore, with this platform where we have most of the countries, I want to propose that, and this is based on up-to-date information from international consensus, that we must tell the government and the hospitals and the clinics, if you don't have an AII room, then you must have an air purifier with HEPA filter with an exchange rate of 12 per minute. Those purifiers which have an exchange rate of more than 12 per minute, per hour, that's your responsibility to save yourself. The second thing which came was that for herd immunity, they gave a number. The number was 60 to 70%. It's not 10%. And the third they said was it is speculation today that 10% of the society of the whole world has already been affected. The numbers are not there because they have not been tested. And the maximum number has come out to be 20% in New York City. And in Korea, it is 5.7%. But they said throughout the world, approximately 10% of the people have already been affected. Fourth thing is that I'll request Dr. Chong to write an email to our Chinese Medical Association, though they are not a member of our CMAAO, but we should invite them and talk to them, because a time is coming where all the people are talking about that China has not been transparent, China has supplying kits are not okay. At least we can initiate a dialogue. So as a chair, you can invite, and then in the next meeting also get the secretary, because she is not on our WhatsApp group. We have been sending her the emails. If you can write to her that in the next Saturday meeting, we also invite the Secretary General of the CMAAO, and you also invite the China Medical Association. If they come, I don't know whether they will like to come on Zoom or not, but they can still come for once and discuss it out. At least we can come out with what is happening in the society. And the third is that everybody here should take responsibility of inviting one neighboring country. Say Rajan can take care of, Rajan and Dr. Ashokan, both of them are here. They can take responsibility that Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan, they can call them personally. So if each one of you, say Dr. Chong can take responsibility of Japan and South Korea, so that it becomes like a mini meeting every week. Time we can reduce, we can make it a very crisp half-an-hour meeting, but let it be a meeting attended by all, and this will continue till I hand it over to the next person. That means these meetings will continue in September, till September. Every week, whether we meet for 5 minutes, the meetings will continue.
Good idea.
I request the President of the Medical Association, Rajan, to talk about Indian status.
Good morning, friends. As I am traveling, so I could not connect before. Hi to everyone. Now, coming to the Indian scenario, we have been able to arrest the doubling curve, and yesterday evening it was around 4.8. But mass scale testing, as is being proposed everywhere, would have to be given a rethink in India, because as I agree with Dr. Chong, kits which have come have also failed in India also. So the quality of the kits have to be very important. But the problem is the worldwide scenario of COVID, where to get so many kits for India. And it is going to take a long years to test the entire population. and also the same status is for vaccination. So I have a request that as far as Indian scenario is concerned, these two options have to be marketed with restraint. And also, like today, we are 300 plus districts. We are totally which are disease free. And we have to think of getting them back to life, whether inter-district movement. But yes, one thing is very clear. We after this lockdown period, we will be like a toddler who first crawls, then takes steps, then learns and gains confidence to walk, or ultimately even to run. So all these things with social distancing and the new norms, even for our doctors and practice medical practice, it is going to be a game changer. So we need to do this Indian perspective. But Dr. Chang, your last meeting suggestion of decontaminating and deep cleaning of the clinics and opening up next day is a very viable option, and which we are also recommending to the government so that the health sector becomes the first sector to come back and start working. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I'll quickly ask each one of you to say, Russell, quickly about the Australia, which has the Oceania, both Australia and New Zealand, we have the lowest incidence as well as prevalence and death rates.
Yeah, yes, KK. Australia, as you know, we have very good reports at the moment, and we are in. I think it's less than 1%. I think yesterday there was about 7. Most of the states didn't have anyone. They're waiting for 3 weeks more. They're going to wait for 3 weeks, and then they will be gradually planning to bring down the lockdown. We are at stage 3. New Zealand was on stage 4, total lockdown, but they after Anzac yesterday or today is Anzac. From Monday they are coming to 3. Australia has already been. It never went to 4. So they are going to in 3 weeks. They want 3 weeks more, and after that they will make a decision. They want to see a consistent pattern. So they will be gradually bringing. Still quite strict, but now it's 2 people at a time. They might increase that. Schools will be starting with more social distancing and so forth. So I think the death's around 80, but the number of cases is still 6,000. It's been pretty good for the last week or 10 days, and that's why they need another 3 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll prefer if each one of you talks about what is that unique in your country, which and others should adopt, because numbers and all we have been reading about every day. So I'll ask Dr. Elvin Chan to talk about what's unique in Hong Kong, which if other countries adopt. Dr. Chan, Hong Kong has the best minimum healthcare workers infection rate and the death rate, and they are also the new cases, they are the lowest. What's that something which Hong Kong has done and other countries have not been able to do?
Thank you, KK. May I ask some of you who can mute your microphone? That would be better for me to hear your presentation. Say, yeah, thank you. In Hong Kong, I think, as Dr. Agawa has said, our community had continuously for 2 weeks to have 1 digit, that is less than 10 each day for the confirmed cases. Number of confirmed cases have been nil for 2 days now. And I think we had practiced the absolute quarantine of those coming back to Hong Kong for the past 2 weeks to move them to hotels designated for quarantine. And So there will be no contact between the people coming back from outside, overseas to Hong Kong with local people. And of course, local people, we don't have any laws to make sure that people have put on masks, face masks. But almost 100% of Hong Kong people voluntarily put on masks, and correctly, of course. And always advising people not to touch the face, even though we had put on the mask. We know that I think our habits of touching eyes and nose with our fingers often would be the loopholes of getting infected through the touching of fingers. And so I guess these are the things that might be our success in the past month, that we had kept our confirmed cases to 1,036. But of course, this could not be anything to be complacent of, because in next month, we would expect there is a possibility that the border between Hong Kong and mainland China will be open again. So because it had been closed since early February. And that is, of course, important in stopping the transmission of cases. But of course, even now in mainland China, there have been few cases confirmed already. But we don't know, because China is so big, and then sometimes not so transparent for the communication of the data from each and every single city or place in mainland China. So we are still on guard whether next month there could be any opening of the border. And so far, we have our schools still closed. But our examination, public examination for university entrance examination has started yesterday. Keep our finger crossed whether this would be anything that could introduce loopholes for transmission of diseases. So far yesterday, for the first public examination to be taken, there are a few students who had a high temperature checked, and they had left the examination rooms. But these are the things that we have to keep vigilant in preventing the transmission of the disease in the community. And one thing I would like to also ask Dr. Agawa, in fact, we also have to have this weekly meeting, and that is very good. So perhaps we have to keep communicating whether we will have the air travel in the summer be open again. Then, because early September is quite near to us after summer in Taiwan, then our General Assembly will be held there. We have to pray that then all these countries will be in good control. But at least I think we are optimistic, isn't it, that the General Assembly will be held as
but we are ready. But we should be ready for a virtual handover and taking over if that need arises.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
We can have our meeting, and 50 people can be there on Zoom the whole day. We can have a meeting.
That is wonderful.
So that will be there. I mean, we don't have to worry about that. If we are not physically there, we are emotionally with everybody. Dr. Pillai, who is a member of World Medical Council, he is a council member. I'll ask you a question is that when we talk about there are instances where many countries are confiscating PPE equipments traveling through their country. That means now people are trying. There is say this has happened in US, where when the PPEs were being going through one particular state, and those people took it away. It's like the state becoming like a gangster and taking away the kits and not allowing it to go to some other state, because that's what the need of the hour is. Do you have any comments, Dr. Pillai?
Thank you, KK. Very good morning.
Dr. Pillai was my president when I was the Secretary General before I became the president. So he is my boss.
So India is fortunate that we are more or less keeping the rate of growth of the infection under control. The doubling time was 3.5 days. Now it has become 6.5 days. So that is a relief. The increase is only linear increase, no exponential increase in the number of cases are there. We have been very short of personal protection device and mask. We have started manufacturing them locally of a good standard. Then the situation varies from state to state. So there is need for lockout specifically for each state, and interstate movement definitely has been curtailed, particularly from states which have high rate of infection. Even within the state, we have divided them into 3 zones: green, orange, and red. Green, where there is not much of risk. From red zone, no movement of people are allowed, so that there will be much better containment of the infection. And on the treatment front, we are trying many antiviral drugs, and we are giving plasma from infected patients. At least in one patient, it has been successful. Vaccine trials are going on at the ICMR level and Pune Virology Institute. And lockdown is complete, and we are slowly sort of trying to release it for economic and social reasons. And that is where India stands now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pillai. Mary from JMA, would you like to update?
Karan?
From Japan Medical Association, Mary, would you like to speak out?
Thank you very much. Quick information from Japan, and we are now kind of an improving trend, but it is not a controlled situation. Since there are still few patients with serious illness, trial at the hospital, they tried the whole ICU as a negative pressure room to reduce usage of PPE. The BBC covered the trial, so I will share the link later at the WhatsApp. Thank you very much.
And I'll request you to pass a message to the Secretary General next time she is there. Yes. And I'll now come back to Pakistan, Dr. Namazi, and then Ravi, and then Dr. Gana Bhaskaran. Namazi. Dr. Namazi, kindly unmute and then speak. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Actually, I've come in as an observer. I'm not listening to all the views from you. I'll remain a silent observer for the time being. I'm sure from the Malaysian point of view, Dr. Arasu and our President, Dr. Bastran, would be able to give an update on this. Thank you very much.
But still give your comment, Dr. Namazi from Malaysia. Still give you 2 lines. What's new and what do you have a suggestion? Yes, Ravi, our past president of CMAAO.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. KK. Well, Malaysia has extended their MTO till the 12th of May.
Ravi, you are a past president of CMAAO.
Yes, I am.
Malaysia is being talked by Arasu. Talk about broader terms. Talk about the whole CMAAO. Talk about something which is different from Malaysia. You are not representing Malaysia here. You are the immediate past president of CMAAO. See, I'm not talking about India because I am represent. India is talked about Rajan.
Okay, now if you're talking about the CMAAO now, we notice that many of the countries are actually coping very well. In fact, we are far better than countries in the West. That is, we are talking of the US, Europe, and UK. If you see countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, are actually coping very well. There are some outbursts like Singapore due to their foreign workers. Even Malaysia is a bit worried about their foreign workers. So generally, I think it's this population that they're quite concerned about. But many countries have actually pressed very hard to contain the spread of the COVID-19. So the lockdown seems to be a very common phenomenon all over the CMAAO countries. That's about it.
Dr. Gana Bhaskaran, why, any observations why the mortality rates are lower in the Asian countries compared to the Europe and the North America?
It should be Jnana Bhaskaran.
Gana. Gana
Jnana.
Bhaskaran.
Jnana.
Jnana.
Jnanam. Jnanam.
So this
knowledge.
This is none of the Kerala word. So I'll call him as a Bhaskaran, is easier.
Knowledge. Jnana is knowledge, wisdom.
Jnana, that is Jnana. Jnana Bhaskaran.
Yeah.
Yes, Jnana Bhaskaran. Dr. Jnana Bhaskaran.
Okay, sir.
He is taking a cup of tea.
It is Kerala Bonhemi.
Yes. Now, give your comments, Ashokan.
Good morning, everybody. I have two issues of concern from India last week.
But before that, Ashokan, can you speak about the ordinance which has been passed for the knowledge of other countries?
Yes. Everyone is aware that violence is a part of life, at least in our part of the world. There has been violence always, physical, non-physical, verbal. All abuses have been there on healthcare workers, doctors, nurses. And there has been a demand that a central law governing the entire India should be enacted into the Indian Penal Code. For a very long time, Indian Medical Association has been fighting on this, and government has taken this into consideration. During this epidemic period, they have amended the Epidemic Act, incorporating very stringent provisions on people who perpetrate violence on doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers. We are hoping that the government will extend it into the, once the epidemic situation is over also, we will have a regular law which will be regulating this violence. Now, coming back to the couple of points that I wanted to make is that, interestingly, the Income Tax Department of India wrote to Indian Medical Association last week, asking whether their very central building in Delhi is safe because it is centrally air conditioned. We were very fortunate enough to have a resource person in Dr. K.K. Agarwal, and he summoned evidence from all across the world. And we ultimately have given them an opinion at this point of the epidemic. Perhaps a centrally air-conditioned atmosphere, a closed setting is not advisable. We have told them two things. One is either they open out, create windows and open out, or they add more air component. These are the two things that Dr. KK has suggested to them. So this is an interesting observation which I would want to comment upon, because many ICUs are centralized air conditions. I am sure right now in Maharashtra, at least, we have a lot of ICUs which have been thrown open to for ventilation. So this is one aspect. Our surgical theaters, our consultation rooms, all these closed spaces are going to be sitting ducts. The second one that I would want to make a point is that India has a very substantial private sector and a very substantial non-COVID treatment that is going to happen when the lockdown opens. This is a great concern. And even before the lockdown opens, we wish to start with our cancer surgeries, with our vaccinations. So how to protect during vaccination, how to protect during surgeries. So there has been a demand that all surgeries, even the elective ones, before the patients are submitted to surgery, COVID be a routine test. And this has medical legal as well as safety concerns. So these are the two aspects that have emerged in the last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashokan. So the 4 tests, HIV, Hep B, Hep C, and COVID. Now this will become like a norm pre-operative test, which IMA can recommend very clearly. That is, as CMAAO, the recommendation is, we at the moment we are doing Hep B, Hep C, and HIV in a pre-operative patient. Add COVID antibodies or antigen whenever it is available into it. I hand it over to Dr. Chong to sum up. But before that, my apology to Dr. Namazi. By mistake, I spoke Pakistan, and I just realized that this was my mistake. Over to Dr. Chong.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming together every Saturday for this meeting. I think at the end of the day, we're all at different stages of the COVID infection. And some of us are in the earlier stages, some of us are mid, some of us in the later. But I think it is still quite unclear, no matter how well controlled or how not so well controlled our situation, our local situation is. It's still not quite clear going ahead in the next 2-3 months what the cause of this pandemic will be. So I really welcome Dr. Agawa's suggestion that we keep these weekly meetings to keep ourselves all up to date of the situation as it changes and evolves so rapidly. Thank you all for participating in this quick and fast meeting every Saturday. I look forward to meeting you all again next Saturday for a quick update of what's happening in all our jurisdictions and our countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chong. And before I say goodbye to all of you, let's make sure that next week, we have Korea, we have the Secretary General, we have Nepal. We haven't, because I got an email that they will be joining today. Pakistan hasn't joined. So Pakistan, Nepal, we would like to listen to Sri Lanka. And we will also, Thailand came only once. This Thailand hasn't come, and then Taiwan came once. We would like to listen to all of them. So let's all make efforts that next meeting we have, at least in one meeting, I want all the people so that we can share all our data of the country. Thank you very much. Corona Namaste.
Dr. Agarwal, can I just make a
yes,
comment
Dr. Namaste.
Before we now see, we are already in Malaysia. We already had 6 weeks of what we call movement controlled orders. That is something similar to the lockdown, and we are looking at exit strategies. Maybe perhaps we can discuss this in the next meeting on various exit strategies.
Absolutely. The topic for the next will be exit plan. And the exit plan now is important because there are statements given by the UN and by the WHO that we need to be prepared for the next 2 years. So therefore, our exit plan has to be living with COVID, not living without COVID. So our next topic will be living with COVID. That means we are talking about the exit plan. Thank you very much, everybody, and Corona Namaste to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, and stay safe, everyone. See you all next week.
Same to all of you. Bye-bye.